Jordan, vacant flyweight title, number one contender in Davidson Figueiredo versus number two Joseph Benavidez. That is how a title fight is supposed to go down. Number one versus number two. I'll do a quick setup and then we'll break this down. This is a rematch from February when Figueiredo earned a second round TKO win. Current odds from Denver Sports Betting and Bet Rivers has Figueiredo as the favorite at coming in at minus 230, and the comeback on Benavidez is a plus 185. The history between these two, originally scheduled to fight for the vacant title in February after flyweight champion Henry Cejudo vacated the belt. Things fell apart basically when Figueiredo missed weight, making him ineligible for the title. And then he goes out and, of course, beats Benavidez. So less than 5 months later, Jordan, these two will run it back. In that first fight, it was a close opening round. And then really Figueiredo, I thought, wore down Benavidez, dropped him with the right cross. They clashed heads, and then he finished him with some solid ground and pound.
Yeah, I think that the clash of heads definitely played a role in that first matchup, but it's hard to argue with the absolute boomsticks that exist in the hands of Deiveson Figueiredo. I mean, it's very rare that you see that sort of explosive power coming from the 125-pound division, and especially, when you have a veteran like Joe Benavidez. Granted, yes, has he had the lights shut out a couple of times? Yes. But at the same time, to have someone who is of his caliber and that is just in the echelon of fighter that he is, to be able to do that against someone like him, especially on that stage in a main event for a world title, you have to give respect to Figueiredo on that side of things. One of the biggest questions, again, though, this week coming into this fight, Ron, is the scale. Will Deiveson Figueiredo be able to meet 125 pounds flush by the time that time, to step on the scale on Friday comes? With all of the travel situations, with him having some adversity that's been reported already, will he make weight or will he miss for the second vacant title fight in a row? That's the big question.
That's a great point. His first fight is against that scale, and the adversity you're alluding to, Jordan, of course, is there was some talk of him or his cornermen tested positive for COVID. It seems like they are now clear after they went through the COVID-19 testing protocols. So as of this recording, the fight is on. Maybe the first fight, as Jordan said, is on Friday when he hits the scale. But if the fight happens, let's break this down. I agree with you. Benavidez is one of the most talented and athletic flyweights in the world. I feel he's just run into, some of the sport's all-time best. He just hasn't been able to get by those greats as like Mighty Mouse Johnson and then, of course, Henry Cejudo. And now it doesn't get any easier with Figueiredo, who is, in my opinion, one of the top prospects, not only in the flyweight division, but in the sport. 32-year-old Brazilian's been on fire lately. He's won 3 in a row since suffering his lone professional defeat. He is extremely well-rounded. You look at his wins, 8 coming by way of knockout, 6 by submission, and then he possesses the dynamite in his hands, as Benavidez found out, unfortunately, when the Brazilian got his 9th career knockout. So it's going to be a tough challenge, but how do you see this fight breaking down, Jordan?
Even though Benavidez has some highly accredited wins over, you mentioned the Henry Cejudo fight. That was, I believe, the last time that Henry lost, if I'm not mistaken. But, if you look at some of the remarks that Benavidez has made coming into this, that is what's most alarming to me, Ron. He's talked about some of the depression effects since the last fight, about how, he's been sitting in the room almost, crying by himself. Mm-hmm. Is that something that is, is that more of like a mental issue as far as like the head trauma and the brain trauma, or is that just genuinely being set over the outcome of how the fight played? I don't know the answer to that question, but as soon as that remark was made, that immediately set off a red flag in my head as far as, you know, if I'm giving any sort of, you know, betting advice or who you should consider. To me, as soon as that was mentioned, the red flags went up, and you have to go Figueiredo at this point. And that's even weighing against, that's trying to hedge yourself against what could be a very, very difficult weight cut, which has to factor in. But if there is a guy who is expressing mental concerns, or that he might not completely be there in between the ears, I can't put my money in good faith on that fight.
Yeah, solid point there for sure. And, you know, another X factor, in my opinion, kind of going against the veteran Benavidez, is that Figueiredo is training at Team Alpha Male, you know, Benavidez's old home. So the Brazilians coaches are very familiar with Joseph Benavidez and his style. They'll be prepared for what the veteran throws at them. The odds, again, coming in as of this recording, have Figueiredo as the favorite at -230, and the comeback on Benavidez at +185. I think Figueiredo's power is the difference in this matchup again. I think he should be able to overwhelm the veteran Benavidez. I mean, the Brazilian is arguably the hardest hitting flyweight on the roster for sure. So unfortunately for Benavidez, you know, a guy who is considered to be among the greatest fighters to never win a UFC championship, although he's capable of pulling off this upset, I think that tag sticks with him. He kind of becomes the Buffalo Bills of the UFC. It's been a while since the UFC has crowned a flyweight champion. As you mentioned, Cejudo last defended his crown in January of 2019. I think Deiveson Figueiredo will be crowned the new champion.
I think that that's a safe assumption to make right there. I would agree.